Hi guys, so you're again at the financial fitness session, and really hope you guys are well, welcome, and hope you guys had a good week. It was definitely an interesting week, seeing that we are, you're kind of like, we're all trying to get back into our rhythms, but I don't know about you guys, but it's an interesting environment. It's a new environment that we are getting into where we're just trying to find our new normal. But I always say to you guys, business needs to continue, and the need of people has not changed. We still have needs. We still have to, basically survive and go on with life. So, in this session, cheers. I hope you guys have your coffee. Oh, there's the smile. All right, so for you guys, today I wanted to focus. Last week we touched on transactions, and a big thing that I've seen over the years, I've been dealing with multiple SMEs, and a big thing that I've come to realize is that business is about transactions. Okay, so we touched on that last week, so that you know that if you're not doing transactions in your business, you'll actually see that you don't have a business at that point in time. If you're not doing something. Now remember, I also said transactions aren't only one thing. It's not only financial of nature. It's not only if I process invoices. It is multiple things. If I'm not issuing quotes, for instance, if I'm not issuing purchase orders, if I'm not pulling in my bank statements, if I'm not interacting. So if there's not transactions, there's not business. Okay, so that's quite an important thing for you guys to just grasp. Okay, but today, and remember, my focus is on SMEs and the financial support of SMEs. So today I want to focus on the three components which I've seen make for a strong and a good financial environment in an SME space. Okay, so it's not, you wonder sometimes what's the golden recipe for creating a good quality environment. Okay, so I've got three things that I've come up and that I see work over multiple SMEs that really makes a massive difference when it comes to financial, healthy and strong environments. Okay, so those three things are systems, okay, people and processes. Those three. Okay, so the coolest thing that I always do, I always try, and with people that I work in my teams, and I always try and bring it back to sports, because I think a lot of us love sports and we understand sport. Whilst in a financial space, it's very abstract, so not always easy to understand, but it is easy if we connect it to something like sport. Okay, so let's just take those three components and we think of it. Okay, so I said systems, and people, and then processes. All right. So in systems, it's the environment that we deal in. Okay, so that's the environment and the infrastructure that we have. People is, well, people, and then we've got processes. Okay, so let's take, for instance, if you're a one-man show, okay, so you just start your business, it's only you, then you're what we call a sole proprietor. Okay, so let's take tennis. Tennis is a one-man game because remember, you playing against your opponent. It's only you and your team. All right. So in any business, your opponent could be your supplier, for instance, or could be your customer. Ultimately, you are playing things out amongst each other. Okay, so now look at this. The tennis court, the net, and your racket, that is a system. That's an infrastructure that's in place. Okay, so that's the system, the infrastructure, the environment that you can play in. Okay, then the actual people is you and your opponent. And the rules, the process is the rules of the game. So that's where, for instance, we say, here are the lines on the court. If you are over the line, it's out. If you hit against the net, it's not, it's a point against you. Now, it's quite important to understand this because if one of those three things aren't there, it actually doesn't make for a great game. Like, for instance, if you don't have a good infrastructure, you play tennis on, let's say, your grass, or you play tennis just somewhere on a rugby field, it's not the same. So if you don't have that infrastructure, ultimately the game suffers. If you don't have players, well, then obviously you're not playing the game. And then if you don't have rules to a game, well, ultimately you don't know how to play the game and it's not a game. So all those three are very important, okay? Then I want to tell you one thing. There's one other important thing is the ball itself. That's something that moves the whole time. That's what I call the transactions. Now, the better the infrastructure, the better the kind of court environment, the better tennis racket you have, the better the people are equipped, they are good players, and the better the rules of the game, you'll see that ball starts moving quicker and quicker and quicker, meaning you are processing transactions quicker. So let's take, for instance, now you're a bigger business, and it just applies in the same way. You're a bigger business and you've got more people on your team. So let's take rugby. Okay, so rugby, same thing applies. You've got a field with good infrastructure, with rugby poles at the, that are actually planted and that where to score goals. That is good infrastructure. Then you've got people, your team is on your side. Yes, and you're always playing opponents. That's business. You play opponents. You know what? If you read the book by the founder of Nike, actually can't remember his name now, but anyway, he says that business is like war without bullets. Okay, so you always have opponents that you play with. Now, it's not always a fight, it's not always negative, but there's somebody that you need to debate with and get things going and make sure that you on your side of the fence, make sure that people on the other side of the fence do something that you need them to do. All right, so let's get back to rugby. So you've got your team of players on your side, that's the people, and then you've got the processes, which is the rules of the game. And if we don't have a good rugby field, I don't know whether you've seen, but like if you go to Loftus Versfeld and you watch a good game there, it's much better, okay? Or I am a Blue Bulls fan, hopefully under Jake White, things will go fantastic again. But all right, but just bear with me. When we play well, if you go to Loftus Versfeld, it's a great field. It's perfectly, kind of like the infrastructure is perfect for rugby. You've got good players on the field. If you have good players on the field and they're playing well, then obviously now you've got a good environment that you can play with, and you've got the rules. You've got the rules of rugby being applied. Suddenly you have a fantastic game. And the rugby ball again, that flows quicker, which is the transactions. Okay, so let's take this back to business for a moment. Okay, business is, first of all, let's start with systems. If you in your business don't have a good system, a good ERP system, a good accounting system, a system where you can actually process transactions, like for instance a system for quoting, a system for purchasing, a system for reflecting or capturing in your history of your business, then you're going to battle to really play the game of transactions. Okay, remember, what is a transaction? Transaction is something between you and a customer, something between you and a supplier, you and a bank. That's a transaction. It's not easy to process those things in your business if you don't have this in your business. Okay, so take that into consideration. System, ERP environment, good ERP environment is very important in your business. Second is people. If you're sole proprietor, no problem. If you are a bigger business, bigger SME business, also good, fantastic, well done. But the reality, if you haven't got people that are well trained and that are there and they understand their position, like a rugby player understands his position, you're also going to battle. You're just going to kind of like just pedal. So they don't know how to process out. It's nice, I've got a good system now, but what and how do I use this system? What am I doing in the system? What player am I playing to make sure that transactions can flow? The last thing is your processes. Now this is quite special. If you can do this in your business, it really helps. This is the rules of your financial environment. How do you process transactions? What type of transactions can you process? These are the real rules. Like for sports, this is your business's rules, okay? When you process something, this is how you process. When you issue an invoice, this is how you issue it. When you are, for instance, creating a new item code, if you are, selling clothes, what does that item code look like? How do you communicate that? Where do you store it? Okay, so these are the rules of the game. Now, that's usually called an accounting manual and standard operating procedures, those two things. Big businesses understand this, they have it. I've seen some of these. They have thick accounting manuals, they call it accounting Bible. It's massive. Really, guys, it helps if you have it. Why does it help? Well, firstly, you have to do things consistently in a business. And specifically now, I'm talking about financial, you have to be consistent. If you're not consistently posting something into your ERP environment, you have a very weak environment of being able to compare data. You want to compare what you did like last month versus this month, last year versus this year. Have you ever heard the phrase, compare apples with apples? Well, if you're not consistent in your transactions, and you're not saying, well, this item code, this is the way we structure it, and when we sell it again, this is the way we structure it, this is the way we purchase, and this is the way we can connect it to see what kind of profitability we have, and to always manage our inventory. Well, you've got a very, very difficult environment to compare with. Okay, so it's very important for you to understand that it may take a ton of time to set up a good system, and to train the people and to have the rules. But it's almost impossible for your business to thrive financially if you don't have those components. You have to spend the time on it. It's very important. There are fantastic ERP systems in there. The other thing I also just want you to know, it's not I'm going to put my head in a hole and spend a week, get this in place, it's perfect today, and then never again. No, things change. Think about your house, for instance. If you build, if you start building your house, you do you finish it the first day, the architects did their job, the builders did their jobs, you're done, you're moving in, it's great. But what happens now? You have to maintain that. You have to change it slightly. You get a child. Okay, well now something happens with another room. Another child. A dog comes along. And so things change in your house. You have to adapt your environment as you go. Your business will actually grow over time and change, and you have to manage that system with it. It doesn't help you just say, well, this is it. This is my business forever and a day. Never going to change again. Imagine now, in this lockdown environment, people just say, oh, it's the same. No, we're not changing. Everything is the same. So you have to adapt your business, but don't adapt by saying, I'm breaking the whole house down and I'm just starting over. No, you slightly tweak, you pivot, you just move slightly forward, and you build and you build and you build and you make it slightly better. It is a consistent environment that you have to improve on. For instance, if you quote, the day you start your business, you may be quoting on Excel. Well, I love Excel. Believe you me, reality is that Excel is not a data tool, it is a tool for a capturer in the moment. So if you don't make it into a data tool, it doesn't build data in the background. And then you just lose that data. Just know that. Okay. But anyway, so you may start with something like a very simple kind of quoting Excel environment, but you need to know that the more you quote, the more you're going to need that back-end data, because if a customer comes and you've quoted 100 quotes in a month and they come and they phone you in 3 weeks and say, I'm saying yes to this quote, how do you even call up that quote? Secondly, how do you follow up on the 100 quotes that are out there? If you don't have a system, a database, you can go actually tap into and say, hey, this is my database of open quotes. This is my database of quotes that have expired. What can I do with those customers? Maybe get feedback as to why they have not actually said yes. Okay, so that's the infrastructure. So in ERPs, you get tons of good ERP systems out there, really for SMEs. You get the ones we use is Pastel. It's a phenomenal, kind of like on-site ERP environment. I'm a big fan for on-site because it's something that I can then manage my own data with. But you can also move it into the cloud. Then you get other things like Xero. I haven't worked with Xero, but I've heard good things about Xero. You get Sage 1, you get, what is the other one? Wow, can't remember all of them. I can't remember many names now. I'm like thinking SAP, but that's for much bigger businesses. Okay, so Sage is a big software house that does that. Xero is a big software house. Intuit is a big software house that does solutions for I would say entry-level kind of environments. I myself am a specialist in the Pastel, Partners, Express, and Sage 50 Cloud space. That's what we focus on. Okay, but anyway, so now we get back to people. Remember now, don't force just a person with a kind of availability into a position. Make sure that whatever you put in your business in place from a transactional point of view, it actually fits that person's profile from what he's able to offer your business. Otherwise, that ball doesn't move quickly between players, and you want those transactions to move. I tell you now, if you go to a Biliki rugby game versus a Springbok game, that ball is much slower, and it means that you are processing less transactions. The more transactions you have, the bigger business you actually have. Yes, they need to be profitable. It doesn't help you to have millions of transactions and you actually are making a loss. I understand that. But just understand, no transactions is no business. Very little transactions is a small business, whilst more transactions make a bigger and a bigger business, and it's how you manage those transactions. Now, in a system, you can actually then go and call them up and look at them. The last thing is the actual processes. It's the documenting of those processes, your accounting manual, your standard operating procedures. How do I do things, and how does that ultimately come into my environment, into my system, so that I can compare the two and I can manage? Because you want to go, when you ultimately come onto a dashboard, you want to say, well, now I look at this, it's comparable year on year, month on month, product on product type, product range on product range, and I can now suddenly really make an informed decision. What is the health of my business? Because I have all these building blocks that are coming together. It's not the perfect picture day one. It's just something we work towards. We're not saying, spend months just to prep, but understand this and get there. I really do think you guys are gonna find it very valuable. So I also see some people are calling up they're saying that what systems they use. Cool, I'm happy you guys have systems. I know Wave is another system that is also available. And if you guys are not sure what system to use and how to actually set this up, you guys are welcome to send me a DM or send me an email, alec@mybi, that's mybi.co.za. Send it to me, let us help you. We do specialize in helping SME businesses, especially if you're not 100% sure, no problem, we'll help. This is purely just to help you guys understand a bit of an infrastructure, and if you then in your teams can at least use this knowledge, fantastic. Hope that helps a lot. We also have some apps, apps that help you invoice and quote and report, good BI reporting. That's very important. So you're very welcome to also ask for some more info if that is what you want. But guys, see, the 20 minutes is up. I haven't taken one sip of my coffee. I'll do that now. Dry throat. Thank you for everybody that's here. I see Amy, them are here. Hi Amy, great local business that do kids clothing. We love them. Always do a good Father's Day shoot. I'm excited. And all the guys that are here, it's fantastic. Thank you for joining, and I really hope you guys have a great week. And guys, you are SME businesses. The economy does really need you. I know it's tough now, but let's always stand up. We are pitching up, and we make sure that we're building solid businesses that can grow over time. It's very important. So cool, guys, and always remember, Lego brains taste like coffee. Cheers, guys.